Random train of thought, literally. The objective currently was completely opposite of what's happening right now. But reciprocity. Reciprocity is a huge theme in this upcoming energetic conundrum that we're entering right now. For real. Reciprocity on all factors. Aquarius energy deals with really authenticity. Authenticity in the projection that is, or what you're stating. I think a lot of times people have this kind of like egocentric kind of viewpoint of Aquarius energy, it being kind of like, oh, they think they're the best, they're always right kind of thing, and they're toxic and stuff. But I think a lot of times people kind of like read Aquarius is wrong a lot of times. An Aquarius energy, I don't want you guys to think in a sense of an Aquarius. These zodiacs and these kind of like schools of thought are just utilized to kind of represent principles of energy. You know, that's what labels and words are. Their contextualization within this plane of existence to try to explain the energy that's being perceived. We try our best as a collective kind of like totality to find means of communication and language that allows us to kind of like get to a level of understanding. Think of the sense of my background. It is green. It's lime green. You have a pretense of what lime green is. I have a pretense of what lime green is, but my lime green will never be or match your lime green. But what we can do is reach a consensus. There's a lot of planes of perception that human beings don't even realize they're utilizing in everyday speech. Honestly, just understanding language in itself is literally an act of divinity levels, like everything. But like I was saying, authenticity. That is what Aquarius energy is. And I think, well, I know as an Aquarius rising myself at the 22nd degree, I know. I feel like authenticity. So Aquariuses always gravitate towards authenticity. That's why you can't really pinpoint or describe what an Aquarius is or what their type is or what they're into. Because a lot of times we live in a plane of existence that people don't really utilize their authenticity in a sense of what they authentically feel within oneself, because a lot of times, for some, that might be kind of, dark. But these are aspects of the totality that makes this whole mechanic work. So, Aquarius energy, this Pluto and Aquarius, think of like scarlet letter energy. Think of aspects of different structures within society that are going to be represented within the shadowy aspects as well too. You know, a doctor is a doctor. You get me? They mend and heal wounds. That's their job. That does not dictate their character. And I feel like Pluto and Aquarius is going to bring about a lot of that kind of contextualization of labels because we're leaving the realms of black and white. And when I say black and white, I mean things on paper. Prime example, Venus in all her like show offiness. Let's take for instance the CEO Piao Power, Piao Pew Pure. On paper, if there was no context as to what and why the reasoning behind their perceived their act, it's horrible. Now, black and white, paper. You pew pewed someone in broad daylight. The gray area is the context. It's what dictates our character, our morality, our kind of like perceptions of things. So we're leaving a realms of just relying on what we see on paper and just really doing the due diligence of adding additional context so that our actions are delegated with what we authentically kind of perceive our morality or our existence. That's it. Take. I feel like a lot of people use these ideologies of stay present, be in the, bitch. We get it. You get me? Like, are you really thinking about what's being said? What's being said is being present, and being present means just being aware of why you're feeling. Is this your feeling? Are you taking this action because this is what you want to do, or are you taking this action with the intention of trying to manipulate a situation or try to gauge a situation, or all of these encompassing factors? The best analogy that I can utilize to kind of showcase this energy in the best way is there's two people and they're walking by a homeless man. They both give the homeless man $1. Okay? Outside of any context, people outside of it, if you're only thinking on the surface level, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, it's amazing, or they're so generous, da 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 da. That's looking it on paper, just looking at the action outside of doing the due diligence as to the reasoning, you know? And the intention behind those two actions dictate a lot of the times the character, you know? Yes, they both gave money, but what was the reason? For one, it could have been they were showing off or trying to, create the perception of being generous, showcase to society. And another could have authentically felt a level of compassion, put themselves in that person's shoes and did it. All of these things add layers of perception so that you are able to make a action and choice that's kind of like outside of the disappointment. Disappointment is breeded by not being in alignment and in balance with what one authentically believes and what one's actions are entailing. And just be your authentic self, honestly. Can you imagine if our white blood cells wanted to just act like red blood cells? Imagine that ecosystem looking at those white blood cells and they're like, oh my gosh, they're horrible. They just attack everything. And they just destroy all these things that just come into the body. Okay. Imagine if they were to act like red blood cells. Your body would not build the resilience that doing and attacking those outside anomalies build. What's deemed as an action of horrificness in the totality that is this concept of infinity, time just kind of gives us a opinionated, perceived idea of what's taking place. And within that perception, it's what makes something feel good and then eventually feel bad. Both feelings are valid. It's just time that kind of like delegates those things. So I guess the point is living outside of time is one's true authenticity. So that could be the thread that this perceived trend setting kind of like thing with Aquarius is just kind of people waiting on a collective kind of like okay to be oneself. And when one is oneself, a lot of times a relationship is built. And a lot of persons can relate to this, honestly. When you build that relationship with oneself, and some call it intuition, others call it higher power or whatever. It's just like any other reflective experience that is in a relationship. Builds a level of trust and self-reliance. So there you have it. The aloofness and the kind of detachment is just self-reliance with one's built relationship with oneself. Literally.